the minute I sit down, the dog is actually in between the tripod. Hi friends, welcome to Wild Cottage. My name is Susan. This is Shep. He's a retired sheepdog that we've adopted. You probably saw earlier in the bit when I was trying to set up Mimi. She is probably a Labrador mix that we found in the forestry right nearby right after Christmas, dumped as a very small puppy. Now she's 4 years old. We live here, we being myself, the dogs, and my partner Tom. We live here at Wild Cottage. We are in the hills of County Clare, which is in the west of Ireland, and we have a small holding for nature. So yeah, it's very important for us to work with nature to encourage biodiversity. We live in a really special area that is a hen harrier area. A hen harrier is Ireland's most endangered bird of prey, I do believe. It's very threatened here. It's a wonderful, magnificent bird, and we are lucky enough to live in an area where we see hen harriers flying by every so often. Yeah. And so it's a very special area. We have worked with Hen Harrier Project Ireland to put in a lesser horseshoe bat roost. That's just become successful. On my last video, you probably heard a little bit about that. This is our natural dyes garden. Tom has just made a few pyramids with sticks coppiced from the woods and the hazel and alder coppice in the wee wood. And Saturday, the first class is coming. The first natural dyeing class is coming to learn about creating a sustainable natural dyes garden and sustainably foraging for natural dyes. They'll do that here. The class isn't held here, but just the picking of the dye stuffs is. So really excited about that. Okay, so this is my podcast where I talk about mainly knitting at the minute. I also do a bit of spinning. I'm participating in Bats to Hats and also in the Fluff to Stuff 2021. Those are 2 spin-alongs, but mainly I'm doing knitting. Sometimes I've been learning crochet and I do other crafts, mainly in the winter months when gardening doesn't take up a lot of my time. Okay, and just one other thing I have to mention is that, because I have a question for you guys and I'd like your help. It's about ads on YouTube. So I know that recently YouTube has changed their policy so that they can put an ad on any video they want, whether you have, a monetized channel or not. And so for that reason, I have monetized my channel because I hate ads. And so I've set up ads on this channel to only ever be at the end of the video. And you should be able to skip them. If you don't skip them and you watch them, I get a pittance. But over time it can add up and just help pay for postage for the giveaways, which just would be handy since, I have to do it anyway. And that would be nice if you don't mind watching the ads. Where I need your help is, if you ever see an ad come up at the start or in the middle, can you please let me know, because they shouldn't be doing that. But because I'm new with this sort of thing and I do everything on mobile or tablet, like I don't have a proper laptop. So I don't know that I have all the functionality to control the things. That's why I'd love your help to know about that. And then if you don't mind watching the ads at the end, then I think I set these ads up 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it tells you how much your estimated income is. And so far, and it's in dollars, I've earned like $2.10. And you only get the money once you've made $100. So at this rate, it'll be about 2.5 years. I have to have ads on here because if I don't do it, then YouTube's just going to do it anyway, and they can put them anywhere. Yeah. So hopefully the ads you do see won't be offensive or just annoying. I mean, they are going to be annoying because they're ads. Some people don't mind, but since I don't have regular television for years, I'm not used to ads and they bother me. Anyhow. Okay, so that little bit of sort of admin out of the way. Hello, Mimi. Yes, I know. I love you too. So Today I'm going to announce the winners of part 2 of the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm going to show you these finished objects. I'm going to show you my work in progress. I'm going to mention a few knit-alongs you might be interested in. And within that, there'll be podcasts mentioned that you might be interested in. And I want to talk about Inspiring Yarns, which is a wonderful social enterprise started by some crafters and independent yarn dyers up in Northern Ireland that's very focused on sort of, you know, your mental health and crafting, how crafting can help that, and socially, you know, getting together and crafting can help mental health. Yes, and I have a little donation sent to them in the name of the podcast. And I'll show you what we're going to send them as well. So I have several finished objects, one of which is here. Now I have to say that I've classed finished objects in, even though they haven't all had their ends woven in and one needs a button. So, but yeah. So my first finished object I want to show you is the Unicorn Sweets shawl, as I've called it. And this is a gift for a friend. And, oh, nuisance flies. Nuisance flies. July brings nuisance flies. But it also brings my birthday, so that's okay. So this is a set of fingering... Mimi, would you come out of the way? I hope you can hear me. Mimi, come on, good girl. So this is... Yeah, so... Do you want to get away from the nuisance flies? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, so kisses in the air. Oh, kisses. Try this again. This is... I have to pay attention to the doggy. Do I need to look at the doggy? No, you are the doggy I'm talking about, not another doggy. When they go everywhere with us in the CAR, and when we're driving it, you know, in the town and we see a DOGGIE, we say, oh, look, there's a, you know what, and she just is like, oh, because she likes to see them as well. Yeah, but you're the doggy I'm talking about. Here, can mommy podcast? Can I podcast now? You have to sit. Sit. Yeah, sit. Good girl. That's right. Oh, good girl. Okay. So, this shawl is just a triangular shawl. It's not a pattern. I just made it by increasing every other row, slipping the first stitch just to create a nice selvage edge. And then every so often, just kind of when I was changing the colors, I just did some yarn overs to make the little eyelets. So the main sparkly color was a light pink. It was a Galaxy King Cole DK, and I held it together with a couple different colorways and fingering weight from Fairy Realm Yarns. And she's a dyer over in England, and she's on Etsy, and she has her own website as well. So it's actually starting to rain. We're going to have to transition into inside, and we'll finish the main body of the podcast there. Okay, come on. We're going to get up, doggy. Okay, since we had to come in, I thought I'd set the tripod up and stand for the moment where I'm showing you my finished objects, because you'll see them better. So this is the Unicorn Sweet shawl I was telling you about. So it's a large triangle shawl. And I love a triangle shawl because it's really simple for me to knit. And you can just wear it so many ways. I like when you can actually wear it like this. And then, of course, you can pop it around and wear it in sort of a cowly, scarfy manner as well. There's just so many things you can do with them. And it's a simple knit for the evening when you don't, you know, have a lot of concentration power. You really just want to be watching some podcasts and relax. So really, really beautiful out of the Fairy Realm Yarns. And this is another Fairy Realm Yarn set. So this is her Fading Rainbow set, and I've held it double with a fingering weight Cascade 220 in sort of a charcoal color. I can't remember what the color was. It was probably a number. And that's a lovely non-superwash yarn. The Fading Rainbow sets is superwash. That Cascade 220 fingering is really thin. It's like a light fingering. And together they just made this lovely marled kind of, well, that's not really, well, I suppose it is. ish combination. And this pattern is the DK version of the Easy Goes It shawl by Finicky Creations. And that's a free pattern on Ravelry. And again, I have to weave in the ends. But it's a nice lighter shawl. And I've knit this for my sister. And so I've entered it in one of the Christmas in July, which most people doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas. They're just using it as a shorthand because they grew up in the Christmas tradition, but it could be a holiday or winter, you know, sort of thing that you are either something you're going to gift in the holiday season for yourself, for others, something that has a holiday or winter theme. And so there is the Little Lycac podcast. Let me just do this for a moment. The Little Lycac podcast is having a knit along for the Christmas in July. So is Nicole on Time Weaver, and I'm putting the hashtags right here on the screen, and again they'll be down below. I feel that this is, a lot of us make holiday gifts for people, and this is a good way to get us started. If you're joining in with a make along, it helps get you motivated, and it has it on your radar so you're not panicking at the last minute and you're kind of going, oh, I would love to make all these gifts. So anyhow, this is for a holiday make along, and it is the Easy Goes It pattern by Finicky Creations out of Fairy Realm Yarns and Cascade 220 Fingering. So I finished that. And the other thing I finished that I haven't shown you is this gorgeousness. Oh my goodness. So this again is the Easy, is it? No, it's not quite the Easy. Oh, it is. It is the Easy Goes It pattern for the fingering weight. And again, that's free on Ravelry. And this is out of the most gorgeous yarn. This is an Irish indie dyer, and it's Wild Atlantic Yarns. And I don't have the label here, so I can't remember the colorway. And her labels are so wonderful because she has a quote, like from a poem or a bit of literature, you know, Irish. I hope I'm not flashing everyone here. You know, from, you know, that's connected to Ireland. And they're always really appropriate with the colorway names. But anyhow, this is lovely. And I got it in her mohair and silk base, which I believe is the Neve base. And it just knit up really, really beautifully. And it is just a lovely, lightweight summer shawl. And I tell you, when I first got the yarn, I was going to knit the Lightweight Hipster by Joji Locatelli. And I just found it really difficult, especially, you know, you have to do like an enormous amount of like slip stitch and do this and do that. I was getting really frustrated. And then again, actually my Yarny Corner, and I think her name is Alex, I was watching one of her podcasts, one of the first times I'd watched it. And she, you know, she found that kind of tricky or awkward on her Lightweight Hipster, but she persevered and she finished it and she showed it and it was so lovely. And I said, okay, I'm going to persevere. And so I tried to persevere, but I couldn't. I couldn't make it work, and I was just messing it up. And so I ripped it back. And what I found is, at least that time, ripping back a mohair and silk, not mohair, it's merino and silk, and it's 50-50. And I'm imagining it's because of the silk. Wow, it was really hard to rip that back, to, you know, frog it back. Oh my goodness, it didn't want to. So that was awkward. Yeah, and I was wondering, is that a thing? Like, have you ripped back silk or a merino and silk or a silk blend, and have you found it hard? It was hard, but it was worth it, because then I made the Easy Go with it, and it is just so lovely. I really love this yarn. I have several from her. She was having a sale a while back, and I was like, yay, because I'd been eyeing her yarn for years, or for 2 years. And I, you know, when there was a sale, I was like, I'm going to go for it. And actually right now, until the end of July, she's offering €10 off of her advent calendars for Christmas. 23 mini skeins and a full length skein, a full skein. And I believe it's €180 without the discount. And she ships internationally as well. And, you know, if you have that kind of budget to buy something, do check it out, because she's beautiful colorways, are really lovely. And the thing that made me quite excited, and I'm very sort of tempted, is that she offers it on a lot of bases, and one of them is a DK non-superwash base. So I was like, ooh. Now, often non-superwash, you know, you don't get quite as bright colors. Anyways, I wanted to let you guys know about that because, yeah, it'll be really nice. And the last finished object that I can remember, oh, I have another one, and I'll talk about that and insert the photo, is the alpaca shawl. Again, just a simple triangle shawl, but this one is special. It's from Swartables, Ireland. My friend Susanna's own alpacas. Oops, there's a bit of hay woven. I'll pick that up. You can tell it's a farm yarn. And oh, it's so soft. And I've knitted this for her as a gift. And again, it's just a simple triangle shawl that she can wear anyway. It's not fancy because she's not a fancy person, but she can dress it up and wear it out, or she can just wear it when she's working on the farm. And I'm going to put a little button on it. So if you follow Susanna, she's active on Twitter, and she has Instagram, and she has YouTube. She usually has a few little clips up every day of farm life. And you will know Oven Mitt, the cat. And he is the new sort of cat shepherd. He's not as good at shepherding as Bodacious, the original cat shepherd, was. But anyway, or the shepherd cat. But this little button from Tranquillement over on Etsy, she's in France, I thought looked just like Oven Mitt. So I think I'm going to, you know, add in a button clasp so she can just, you know, give it all of that. But I won't do it till I go visit her so she can try it on and see where a button might go, because she's much taller than I am. That will go to her. And then I made, and then I made two other items, and they're up at the shop at Irish Fibre Crafters. I will insert photos. The first one is a full shawl. It is out of the Belclare traditional breed wool in the purple, and that is hand dyed by Sandra of Meet the Wool. And the yellow part is from Sandra's own sheep, and she's hand spun it and hand dyed it and interwoven it with ribbon. And that shawl is €75, which is, if you're a knitter, you know the amount of time that goes into things like that, and then much less spinning and dyeing it. So I think it's a really good value if you can afford that sort of thing. It's a good price for the work in it. And then this one is a cowl that I knitted up, again using, it's all Irish fibre. It's Irish alpaca that was hand spun and hand dyed by Sandra of Meet the Wool, and another one of her art yarns from her own sheep, hand spun and hand dyed. And that's a lovely cowl that you can wear up on your neck, or you can wear it draped. And the way I've knitted it is so that the alpaca in particular is right around your tender parts of your neck. The rest of it is quite soft though, actually. I must say that the first shawl that you see, just to let you know, it's a rustic wool. Belclare is a rustic wool. Oh, and the cowl is $65, because the alpaca yarn is obviously, it's a more pricey yarn than the Belclare. So I really wanted to keep that cowl for myself, especially. But I don't need all the things. I already have all the things. Okay, I've sat down, so my friend is here. Sheppy is here. Yeah, you have a lot of fans, Sheppy Doodle. Okay, so I have 3 works in progress at the minute. I have on a ranunculus, another ranunculus, because I really enjoyed my second. I am going to lengthen it. I haven't done it yet because, you know, that's not as fun as. But so my second ranunculus is in this lovely little bag from Corcoran, and you've seen me talk about her yarns before. She also makes bags, and she's making these little pouches as well, which are so cute. And so I keep my little notions in here. Yes, dear, I know. And so the yarns, so this is where I am so far. I've done the short row parts for the front and the back, and like I said, in here isn't the best, so the colors aren't quite true, but it's fairly close. And the yarns I'm using are both from Giddy Aunt Yarns, the dyers up in Northern Ireland. And I'm using the Ruby Slippers, which is the kid mohair, holding that double with a superwash, it's half super, with the platinum sock base. Grimhilda is the colorway, I think. I'm probably not saying that right at all. So these are the yarns, and these are some of the first yarns I bought when we went to the West Cork Yarn Festival. So this was even before I could knit. So I really wanted to knit with some of those older yarns that I had sitting around. This is blowing out a lot. Let's try. It's much more like that, maybe. So I'm knitting that, and that's going along pretty well, although I had to stop because I was doing it in the evening and I've lost count of something, and I think I've messed up, so I have to go back and count on my stitches and try to work that out. So that is one of my projects. My other project that I have going is another corker bag, and you can see how I like to match my project bags to my project if I can. I think maybe I'm not the only one like that. And I have in there, I have that lovely lavender sack from Meadow Sweet Fiber Farms, and she's helped sponsor one of our giveaways. She gave things for that in the giveaway that I'm going to announce the winner of shortly. And what I'm doing now is I'm knitting the Lamea shawl by Brooklyn Boy Knits. I'm going off piste a little bit because basically, actually, I decided I wanted to change my colors around, so I did that, and then I've just messed up a few times. So mine doesn't exactly look like the pattern. And this is for a knit along with just a informal, casual knit along, no end date or anything like that, with Inspiring Yarns. And they do meetups like on Zoom and I think on Facebook, which I don't have. And my internet's not generally good enough to Zoom or anything, but I just thought I was inspired by the pattern. I'd give it a go. And it's all crinkled up in my bag, so it doesn't look great. So this is the front. It's a slip stitch pattern, and so that's the back. And the two yarns I'm holding together are, again, they're both Irish as well. And I'm holding together, this is a silk and merino mix. Oh no, silk and BFL mix from Eve Chambers Textiles, and she's down in County Cork, and it's called Through the Bracken. And that's they're both DKs. And then this is one is from, oh, is that backwards? Oh, it's backwards. It's upside down. From Corkery Yarns, again in County Sligo, and I can't remember the colorway on this because I have it on a piece of paper. But yeah, isn't that lovely? And they're really super, super duper lovely together. So I'm knitting on that bit by bit as well. And then my newest project that I've cast on is another one that has got some of Sandra's art yarn. This is one I'm keeping for myself though. And I'm doing it with some of the Donegal, Studio Donegal yarns. And they're sort of tweedy yarns. So the first one here is, and I'll write the color numbers down because there are color numbers. It's sort of a magenta. Not as pink as it's looking there. It's more of a magenta purpley kind of color. So I'm starting off with that. And again, it's not really a pattern. It's just kind of I guess, an asymmetrical triangle, I suppose is what the shape would be. So I'm going to knit it, a section of that. And then in the middle, so I'm hoping where kind of it'll drape here, is going to be some of Sandra's. And Meet the Wool is her brand name, is the name she knits under. Meet the Wool, because you can book with her and meet her sheep. So she has Wensleydales and Wensleydale, I think BFL, different crosses. And so this is from her own sheep, and it's hand spun and hand dyed by her. So that's going to go in the middle. And it has flecks of this kind of pink in it, so it's actually going to look really nice. And then the end, the last section, is going to be, again, another Studio Donegal yarn that is, no, I don't know how to make this best show up. I apologize for this. I'd have to sort out lighting or something. So yeah, so this is how it's going to go. So I'm really excited about that. And this is being knit on 8mm needles, so it's quite a quick knit. It's going quickly. Okay, so yeah, so let me just say a little bit about the donation. The podcast is, I've got to contact them and just make sure that they need this kind of a donation, because they're taking donations now for like tools and yarns and things like that for people to be able to come and craft. And so from the podcast, some tools that I have that I just am using. So I have of the Haya Sharps, and they're for socks, the 24-inch circular, because when I first started knitting socks, you probably, if you watched the podcast, whatever number it was that was all about socks, I tried, knitting in magic loop, and I tried knitting with 2 circulars, and they just didn't get on with me. So I'm a 9-inch circular girl for my socks. So I have that pair for knitting 2 at a time, and then I have a longer pair of Haya Sharps, which I don't have the packet for knitting magic loop. And yeah, they have been used like 1/2 of a time. And then I just have, which might always come in handy for people, I have some wooden crochet hooks. I have another, I can't even remember the size, but another pair of knitting needles. I have some Susan Bates in US size 5, and then I have some bamboo in a size 6. And so I thought I'd contact them and see would any of those come in handy. And then also probably going forward we will get some yarns to send to them as well. But yeah, I think I just think that's a really great thing that they're doing. And do go over there and read their story. They did a crowdfunder, which I supported, and yeah, so it's a really good community project. And yeah, definitely I recommend you go check it out. So especially for you folks that enjoy naturally dyed yarns, and if you'd like to get a holiday advent calendar for yourself, they've made up a holiday advent calendar, which is, there are some of the Tintica naturally dyed yarns, some of them Time Weaver stitch markers, and I think there's something else as well. And I can't remember what the third grouping is. But I'll put that information in the down bar and you can click that out. And I think the price of that is €100. I'm not sure if that is like an early bird or if that's just the price. Now, hold on and I'll get the names of the winners. Okay, friends, I'm back. I just wanted to reiterate about the prizes. I wanted to show you what people are winning, right? So just to refresh your memory, and I've added something into this because this was prize 1. So it's the little pin, the little sheepy brooch on the beautiful DK yarn from Babel's Yarn. That's Grace. She dyes in County Limerick. And this is her Millish, which is the Irish word for sweet, on her Delicious DK. That's the colorway. And then one of the dragonflies from Frubells. And if you saw my last video, you saw us make these. And I'm going to be putting together, along with the Sandra's, kits so that you can make these yourself, and there'll be a bit of information and link to videos that show you how to do that. So one of these little dragonflies is in that prize. But what I just realized recently is that the other prize 2, has a full skein of yarn, a 50-gram skein of yarn, and then 2 different types of candles. So there are sort of like there are 4 items altogether, where this one only had 3 items. So I was kind of like, oh, that doesn't seem quite fair. So what I've done is I've added 2 of my very precious skeins from Giddy Aunt Yarns. So they're Irish dyers as well. And it's the DK. It's on I believe it's a superwash merino. So 2 minis, and they should look quite nice with this should you want to do something together. So I popped that in, so that way prize 1 is equal, to prize 2. Let me announce the winner of prize 1. And that winner is, make sure I have it right, Martha Mason. Martha Mason. Martha, you've won. Congratulations. So just send me a little email to wildcottagepodcast@gmail.com with your postal address, and I will post that out to you. Okay, so the second prize in that giveaway, you may remember, were 2 yarns from Zwartables, Ireland, my friend Suzanne in County Kilkenny, and one is her wool, the Zwartables breed wool, and that's 100 grams, and it's a DK, 200 grams. And the second one is from her alpacas. So these are both Irish. This is a 50 grain skein of alpaca, super soft and lovely. So that, along with the really lovely star, I'm not going to take it out, candle, hanging candle, beeswax, handmade by Bonnie of Meadowsweet Fiber Farm. Let me find her card, hanging around somewhere. Well, it's there. That and 2 of her handmade beeswax candles, and she has a video on, she has a podcast, and on her podcast she has a video showing you how she makes these. So that was prize 2, that gathering there, prize 2, and the winner is Kat. So Kat, you just had your first name there. You are the one that was talking about you came on a bike tour with your mom to Ireland and you had such a good time. That's great. So you're the winner of prize 2. So if you again will give me an email at wildcottagepodcast@gmail.com with your postal address, I can send this out to you. Congratulations to the winners. I really, really hope that you enjoyed that. Now, I just wanted to share a few other little notes that I have that I wanted to, I have to go grab them first, hold on. So another designer that I really enjoy, and she's very good at teaching as well. If you've seen this podcast before, you'll see me talk about Carol Feller. She's the one that designed and did a tutorial for on Teachable for the Brack cardigan, which was the very first cardigan I'd ever done. It was really good. So if you go to her website, it's stolenstitches.com. She has her patterns, she has yarns, she does knit-alongs, and she does like free tutorials, and she has paid classes. If you sign up for a newsletter, you get, you obviously get a newsletter and you get information and you get discount codes. And at the minute, if you're interested to do one of her paid for tutorials, I think it's through the month of July, they're 20% off with the code Summer Knits. And she's posted that on her Instagram as well, so I don't, I'm not giving a secret away for only newsletter subscribers. So go check her out. Her patterns are really wonderful. And if you need your hand held with something new to you, like I do often, she's a really good one to check out, and she's got that sale on. And let's see. So, and Time Weaver I mentioned as well. I can't remember if I mentioned on my last podcast. So she has a new pattern out. It's a brioche, one color brioche shawl called Anam Cara. And I think she actually has that for free at the moment. So, and again, so go onto her Instagram. It's probably the easiest way to find these things. And I'll put that on the screen and I'll link it below, and look at her, her link tree, and you can access her different things there. I talked about inspiring yarns. And I just kind of mentioned different podcasts throughout, but I want to mention for spinners. So a lot of people are starting to spin. So my next podcast, I'm going to talk more about the spinning, the Bats to Hat and the Fluff to Stuff 2021 spinning that I'm doing. And I'll mention some extra, and I'm going to do a giveaway for spin fibers. So especially if you're just starting out, there's some in there. And I think I'll put some alpaca in there. So for when you're more experienced. But I came across, and she just made me laugh, and she seems so nice, but it's Claire's Calm Crafting Cabin. And so I can't remember now if she's a newer spinner. I think she might be a newer spinner, but anyway, so she's really gotten into it. And she went to an alpaca farm, I think it was. And so much fiber. She got so much alpaca and more. And like, she was just talking about it and kind of showing us. And I just had to laugh because her enthusiasm, she's really gone into it. It was just so funny and remind me of myself and my barn full of, I don't even want to know how many fleeces. But an alpaca's not the easiest thing to spin when you're starting off. So like, fair dues to her. And I saw this a couple weeks ago, and my brain, I don't exactly remember, but I believe she was spinning it up too. But yeah, so she's processing the fiber herself. So anyways, I wanted to say well done, Claire. And if you enjoy spinning, and that might be a fun podcast to check out as well, to see how she gets on with all her fibers. Oh, there's so many new podcasts, and of course I can't mention everyone. But, and I was talking about the Frivolous and Frugal podcast and their Curvette Shawl Knit Along coming up in September. Well, they shared a viewer tip that I thought was really good, and you may know it, but if you don't. So when you're knitting with mohair, and if you have a skein, sometimes the mohair just flies everywhere, a viewer was saying if you stick it in the freezer for a wee while, that helps that stop going mad. And the same if you're going to rip back. So if you have to frog or tink back a bit, put your garment, your item, in the freezer for a wee while, and it can make it easier to rip back. So I thought that was a pretty good tip. And if any of you guys have tips, like do share, because I will try to share them on the podcast. This podcast is getting quite long. But, so those are just a few of the things I wanted to mention there as well. I'm sure there's more, and I'll mention hopefully in the next podcast. Stop the podcast now because it was quite long. And I just want to say, I hope you're well and that your loved ones and friends are well. And think about you a lot. I'm so appreciative of all the comments. And on the giveaway post last time, I started to reply and then I realized, no, I can't really reply that. It make it kind of awkward to pick the people out. But, yeah, I really appreciate your comments. I try to get back to you as much as I can. They mean the world to me, really. Like, it's just so special because people are watching and they're interacting and they've enjoyed it or they have something to add. And I have to go back on some of my other podcasts and write down, because people have said things that I wanted to mention here for you. So I will try to do that on a podcast that might be a bit shorter than this, or maybe a special video. Anyhow, okay, friends. Sending you much, much love from Wild Cottage. We have a lot of little areas throughout the cottage acre where we've left the, grass and wildflowers to grow as a meadow. And it's interesting to see what pops up. That's some yarrow there. I believe that's another natural dye plant that you can dye with there. So, yeah. So I'm really excited for when the workshops will come for natural dyeing and people can experiment and pick and see what colors they get. There's a few thistles, which most of them we take down because those ones are so incredibly prickly. So we'll have to monitor that. I leave them, they in the wider area, but not on the cottage acre so much. Although I do love to watch the birds eat the seed heads, but they come and eat the other seed heads that we have around of flowers that aren't quite so devastating if you step on one or rub against it. We'll hop in the polytunnel. We haven't brought you in there for a little while. It's an absolute riot of everything. It's a little bit out of control because this time of year my hay fever gets bad, etc. And I just can't keep up with it so much. But yeah, I've got to pot some of these seedlings on. Our friend is going to come over and help us. But the lilies are getting ready to open. That is going to smell amazing. Lots of dahlias. Again, dahlias are a dye plant too. A lot of bedding that I take cuttings from and overwinter, so hopefully I'll be feeling good enough this year to do that again. Got a lot of garlic and onions drying in here now. We grow a whole lot of beans, 4 dried beans. So there's a lot of that. There's some zucchini squash. There's summer squash coming along. One of these peas is finishing up, but we've got a lot more peas out there. A lot of these things are heritage varieties from Irish Seed Savers. My lemon balm, no, lemon verbena, tall plant, flowering stalks. There are so, I don't know if you can see how many of the little hoverflies there are. I count about 5 right through here. And they really like the purple. The purple petunias. They're not as keen, like a lot of petunias aren't necessarily always a great nectar or pollen plant, but the purples seem to be, and the purples are often ones you'll get a scent from, where most petunias aren't scented, but the purples you can. So yeah, Allison, they all love that. A lot of these, again, I grew these from seed, the flowering plants as well as the vegetables. Another lemon verbena to supplement, because that makes it's so lovely for tea, or you can scent sugar with it. I mean, it's just great. Our tomatoes, grapes are coming along, starting to swell. Need to feed our little lemon tree. It's got a bit yellow there. But yeah, we moved most of the strawberries outside now because they were just taking too much room, and that's where they were, and that's why there's nothing really happening there. So we'll just top up that soil with a bit of compost to enrich it a bit more. Yeah, so it's like an explosion of everything in here. You can hear the rain at the minute, so it's not too hot to be in here. Yeah, hello, Shippy. Can you say hi? Oh, this is a sweetie. That's my sweetheart. Say hi. No, he doesn't like to look at the camera. He just wants to look at mommy. Wants to look at mommy. Okay, friends. Talk to you soon.